Hey, all right, we're live. Welcome to y'all. Welcome. Nice to see y'all here. Michelle's healing home is in the house. I can see your comments in chat. I would love to interact with it throughout our class and presentation today. First, while I'm getting started, let me know in the chat if the audio is good, if how's my specs. Not always so confident in this. Before I gonna be cooking and listening. Nice, cool. Yeah, before I get into the class, I want to start with some announcements, and give me a thumbs up in the chat if this audio is good, please. Thank you. Yeah, this is a class I'm so excited about. It's going to be really fun. You know, I don't know any other. Thank you so much, Brenda, for that thumbs up. I don't know any other herbalists that talk a lot about the electrical etheric systems of the body, and it feels really fun for me to I don't know, I'm kind of riding in the wings of some of my teachers in regards to biofield tuning and getting a sense of this etheric field of the body, which is validating a lot of ancient wisdom, of course. And but as we move on, there's always seems to be a big appeal to the biochemical models or the components of herbs and things like that. And I'm not really into that. I find that kind of stuff boring. It's really boring to me, biochemistry. And I know that it's a really important function in vitalism, but the distinction between the vitalist point of view is that there is spirit, there is soul. It's not we're not all just mechanical beings. We're not just random products of some explosion sometime back in time. And the reason why I'm saying the things I am right now is because of some explosion that happened before. No. We're co-creating, and we have spirit, and we have free will. And I really enjoy weaving this in with the herbs. So before I get it started here, I just want to bring up something here. All right, this is some announcements to make. Some events coming up, some classes. I just did this class on the circulatory system, circulatory story, and it has a lot to do with this electrical body system. We talk a lot about how the blood moves through the body if the heart is not a pump, and how herbs work in relative to this model, which is really fun to explore. I still have 2 spots left in my 2025 in-person course that will be full before it starts. And I have an unlimited amount of spots for the online course. So if you enjoy the type of teacher that I am and the type of lessons that I have here today, please consider supporting other classes. In fact, I have on our video linked there's a link for a survey, and that survey is basically something I'm trying to look for some juicy nugget quotes to put on my website about how people relate to me as a teacher, and how they enjoyed my classes, or how they didn't enjoy my classes, and how wrong I am as a teacher, in which way I could find improvement either way. So if you're in the Milwaukee area, on Monday of this week, I'm going to be teaching at the American Indian Council. I got a gig there every second Monday, and this Monday is if you're in that scene, if you're one of our Native brothers, American Indian brothers or sisters, we're going to be talking about adaptogens. I'll probably bring that class, since I'm building that class for that organization. I'll bring it to us here in the classroom here too. But next Friday, a week from today, this is one I'm really excited about. Valentine's make and take your own aphrodisiac tea. That's going to be super fun. Make and take out, make out. Don't make out at the shop. Make out later at home. It ends at like 6:30. Plenty of time afterwards. let's see here. And then this, if you're into medicine making, in-person stuff, we got a medicine making 2 days at the shop. This is really fun. We learn all this stuff: oils, vinegars, tinctures, percolation tinctures. We do first aid stuff. We make lip balm. Oh my gosh, we make so much stuff. Incense. It just goes on and on. And there's this really cool program that I've had in the classroom for a couple of years now. This is like well over 70 hours of materia medica on herbalism, herb by herb, week by week, corresponding with the Zodiac Astro Herbalism course. 52 herbs, $52. It's probably the best as far as bang for your buck that you could probably find out there on this material. So that's, the announcements are over. Also, oh no, they're not. I got a couple more things to say. Right now, if you go to the website, tippycanoeherbs.com, check out, this is just commercials. This is free class. All right. We just got a paid sponsor here. But because it's my birthday, not today, tomorrow, but I'm celebrating tonight, starting tonight. So if you put birthday at the online store, or if you come into the shop tomorrow, it'll be me and Davide there, at least for a little bit. 15% off with the code birthday through midnight on February 8th, which is this Aquarian's birthday. That will save you on classes too. That will also save you on consults. And it is my clinical work. So as you know, here I am teaching. I also do clinical work, herbal clinician, and we make medicine and run an herb shop, and we got a lot of stuff. And it's the life of an herbalist is just so fun and magical. I'll tell you, it is really, really cool. And I'm blessed to be able to speak with y'all today. Let's see what's going on in the comments. I want to mention too, if you're Coral's here. What's up, Coral? If you have questions, if you have some comments, I'm going to be checking this off, and just write a question and let's interact. If you've taken classes with me before, you know that it's a lot better for me if we could just go with the flow of how the group is thinking. All right. So let's get into it. I got some slides here. Is that up? Hold on. No, I don't like that. What about that? Is that better? Let's see. No. Okay. I like this. Okay, good. Alrighty. So, welcome to class. Vital voltage, herbs, and the electric body. This is a really fun subject, something I'm really, really excited about, because as I started preparing this class, I thought, wow, I could go in so many directions. I have so much to talk about. I have so much material on this subject. There's no way that I can just do everything I want to talk about in a class. Maybe I'll just do a series on it. Maybe I'll just come back and just, maybe I'll just keep writing. I've been writing about it a lot. Maybe I'll just keep writing. Maybe I'll share my writing. I don't know. But we can, maybe a better title for this would be an introduction to herbs and the electric body, because there's no way I can cover everything that I want to talk about today. I kind of have an idea though. So here's the thing. All right, how can I start this? Beep, 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 beep. You ever been hooked up to a heart monitor? You ever seen somebody hooked up to a heart monitor, or seen somebody on TV hooked up to a heart monitor? And it's not the machine, it's not listening to some heavy machinery inside of your body that's in reverse. It's actually monitoring the electrical signals inside being generated from the organ of the heart. Our heart is probably the strongest electrical signal that we have in our body. Our brain generates an electrical signal, EEG, everybody knows that. All of our organs generate electrical signals. Our bones are crystalline structures that when compressed, they create a piezoelectrical signal through the collagen networks and the fascia. So our body is electrical body. And there is a law in physics that states where there is an electrical field, there's also a magnetic field. We are also resonating. Our heart is the main resonator for all of the signals in our body, but we are also resonating with the signals in our own fluid environment. We're capable of grounding those signals out, of holding those signals in our fluid environment. I'm old enough to remember being designated to hold the antenna of the TV. Hey kid, stand by the TV, don't move, so that the signal would come in. Like the Packers, oh, Brett Favre, don't move. Is like my job as a little kid. And so we all know that we're capable of not only producing electrical signals, but receiving and resonating with the signals in our fluid environment. Okay, and so I want to talk about the electrical environment in our body. I want to talk about the magnetic field that surrounds our body, and I want to talk about this electrical potential that we have, which I would refer to as the vital force as a vitalist, but we could also refer to it as voltage. And when I'm speaking of voltage in an electrical sense, I'm referring to the pressure of electricity moving through a current. And so as akin to the blood pressure moving through the pulse. Okay, and as a clinician, I feel the pulse too, but I don't feel it like a Western trained doctor would, which is maybe measuring beats and measuring the pressure. I like to measure and feel the energetic expressions of it. And I'm no pulse master, not even close. I'm much more sensitive with tuning forks and tongue work and everything like that, tongue diagnosing. But going back to voltage, if electricity were water, high voltage would refer to a fast moving river. So that's what I'm looking for in the body. That's what I would like to improve. That's what I would see as a sign of health and vitality, and working with herbs, working with other lifestyle changes in order to facilitate that flow. So I'm also referring to charged, when I'm referring to electricity, I'm referring to charged particles and the magnetic field that is generated from that electrical charge. So there's, and electricity is all of that pressure moving through this fluid current that we're in, this unified field, this etheric field that encompasses all the spectrum of invisible light all the way to visible light, whoop, and all the way further, and even in a more denser form with sound. So it's everything vibrates. Okay, so when the voltage is high, we got enough juice to move across our cells. We got enough juice to move across our the membrane of our own electromagnetic field, which I call the biofield, which is referred to as the biofield. And it's just like a battery. In a battery, the voltage refers to the electrical potential between the negative pole and the positive pole, or you could say my feet and my head. And just like a battery, we can charge ourselves up. We actually have electrolyte fluid within our body. It's just like a saline salt, structured water. Okay. So I'm just setting the grounds here that everyone's in agreement that we have an electrical field. There's no dispute of that. We have a magnetic field. There has to be one when there's an electrical field. It's a little bit more difficult to measure, and we're taught. And when I'm taught to measure it, I'm taught in subtle ways through tuning forks, and it's actually very, very effective that way. But where we get into the cosmological aspect, which is actually very important for this discussion and also for healing in general, to have to heal one's worldview, is talking about this this ether that we all live in here, okay? And not just random products of some explosion back in time that lots of people worship still. Okay, some random explosion. So I think that it would be, here, I got it. I'm just stuck on this slide here. This is a representation of the biofield. This isn't exactly how I perceive it. I usually perceive it at like 6 feet away from the person. This is a little bit more exaggerated. So it's about 6 feet away from the person, off to the sides and all around, and about 2 to 3 feet off the top of the head. But you could see an example here of a toroidal field, and this is what's generated from our electrical signals. We have basically, this is a bioplasma that surrounds our body. It stores the record of our experiences. At the edge of this field is the farthest from this present time. So you could say that's birth. It's just like the rings of a tree. Okay, you know that when you cut down a tree, you could count the rings, and it tells you how old it is. Well, the edge of the tree, the part that we see, the bark, that is related to birth. That's the oldest part of the tree, and the youngest part of the tree is the part that's being generated presently in the center. And the same thing can be felt in the biofield. This is a map of our mind. It is a whatever kind of programs that we're running inside of our body, they get mapped out into this electrical field, this electromagnetic field, and it surrounds the body. It's interpenetrating the body, and these programs that we have, they create habits, they create physical patterns, they create tendencies, they create how we attract something magnetically as well, the experiences that we attract. Okay, so when in biofield tuning and in assessment of our electrical body, one of the ways that I assess the vital force, I mean, there's many ways to assess the vital force, but one of the ways that I really find it effective as an herbalist in a clinical setting is to use a tuning fork and to move through this energetic layer and find pockets of stuck energy. And then there's an anatomical structure of the body or to this biofield that relates to how what the experience that energy is, and also the time that it is. So at the edge of the field, if I'm feeling some disturbance there in my tuning fork, that would relate to birth. Halfway through is halfway through life. Really close to the body would be close to present, etc. And there's basically 3 things that I'm really trying to do in this type of work, in addition to bringing into the herbs, which I'm going to get to in just a second here. And that is activating the central channel. So activating the central channel is number 1. That central channel is that Sushumna, the straight line that goes up and down the spine. That is also the same as the edge of the field. So when you activate the central channel, that which is closest to us, standing in our center, we are also activating the edge of our field as well. And just like our body is the inside of our body, our microbiome and everything like that, it's a hollow tube that everything has to kind of permeate to in order to get to our tissues. And if we have a healthy microbiome and a healthy, inside of our tube, basically, then we have healthy skin and we have a healthy boundary on the outside of our skin. This is a one-to-one from metaphysical or to the physical, or in this way. I don't even know if metaphysical is the right word, because certainly it is a physical phenomenon of the electrical biofield. All right. So the first thing is activating the central channel. And so what I'm going to do right now is kind of go through some herbs that I find, I think the best way, they're really the best way to explain this entire herbs for the electric body is just to get into the herbs. And then we'll go from there. So here's the first one, Mullein. All right. Now, here's what I'm going to do different than a lot of herbalists. I'm not going to talk about what Mullein is good for. No more of that. We're relating to Mullein on a energetic level, on an archetypical level, on a level like this, the patterning in this turtle right here. By the way, this turtle shell encodes the calendar. There's 13 sections of this inner shell for all the 13 months, and there's 28 days, 28 little sections around the side here. And if you were to take sand and put it on a plate and vibrate it at a certain frequency, you would have the same exact thing. In other words, the vibrational frequency is the geometry that's formed is a product of the frequency. And in that geometry and in that geometric pattern, we can recognize, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it. Let's start with Mullein. So we can recognize archetypical patterns and become aware of and work with these herbs not as this herb for this condition, but take the message of what the herb is relating to us. Take the signal, what the herb is relating to us. Bring it to our awareness so that we can change our patterns, change our frequency within our biofield. Micmac is in the house. What's up, man? Okay, so as we start with Mullein, our cells are covered, each one of our cells individually is covered with little tiny hairs. And these little tiny hairs are called cilia, and they act as antennae. They're like little tiny tuning forks all around our cells. And inside of these cilia, there's little microtubules, and they receive and transmit incoming signals in the environment. And so one of my teachers, Eileen McCusack, who developed the Biofield anatomy or mapped it out, hypothesizes that these little these antennae are receiving and transmitting on the cells, are receiving and transmitting information that's in the field, so that the cell is informing the biofield that we're capable of sensing with a tuning fork, and the field is also informing the cell. So if some information comes into my biofield of a danger or toxin or love or relaxation or whatever, it can inform the cells of my body. And if my cell is stuck in a pattern of unexpressed anger or unmet needs, it is also relating that in a particular place in the biofield. So that's how you could find these pockets of information, because they have these little cilia, okay? So Mullein, this plant Mullein, I before E except after C in the case of Mullein too. Only an exceptional plant like Mullein will do. Mullein has these little hairs too. Actually, once there, let me see who's in the chat here. Kristen, Coral, nice. Okay, there was a time that we were there's this little super hippie bar in La Pointe, which is this tiny little town on this island in Lake Superior called Madeline Island. And it's just like the most idyllic spot, one of the most idyllic spots in North America. It's just awesome. And there was like I was there with my friends and we were camping, and there was like an open mic night at this like open air bar, super hippie bar. And like they were all just like feeling folk music songs, just like long poetry, like get to the chorus, come on guys. It was just like it was a lifetime ago. It was back when I used to drink and party and stuff. And so we were like, me and my friends, we were waiting for our turn. It was beer after beer, hour after hour. And finally we got to our turn. And we got up on stage and we like grabbed a bunch of guitars and we started playing Woolly Bully. And this Mullein always reminds me of that song. It was like, Woolly Bully, Woolly Bully. And the cops came and they shut it down. It's like, nope, no more. It's closed mic now. Can't believe we got the cops called for playing Woolly Bully. But that's my sound in Mullein story. Anyway, so yes, that explains how the cells with their cilia explain how the tuning forks work in the field. When you get into a range of a frequency range of a signal of a cell that has a lot of dissonance in it, it's like the dissonance is picked up by the fork, and then the coherency of the fork can entrain the vibration and send it back to the cell. So there's this principle of coherency too, and this fluid of energy that we're all moving through, we're all entraining into a sympathetic resonance in order in order to be in order. And the rule of that is the most coherent signal wins. And so standing there with a fork and waiting for that dissonance to dissipate, and then it's almost like a magnet. You can grab onto that dissonant signal and then hold it and hold it and hold it, and then return it to a coherent signal and bring it back to the body. There's a scientist, Bruce Lipton, he wrote in his book, The Biology of Belief, regarding these little cilia receptor antennas. He says, receptor antennas can also read vibrational energy fields such as light, sound, and radio frequencies. This is the little cilia that are on our cells. The antenna on the energy receptors vibrate like tuning forks. If an energy in the environment resonates with a receptor's antenna, it will alter the protein's charge, causing the receptor to change shape. Because these receptors can read energy fields, the notion that only physical molecules can impact cell physiology is outmoded. Yes. So there's Mullein, cilia Mullein. You're so silly, Mullein. Why you gotta have your E before the I? That's so silly. Here's another thing about Mullein too, in relationship to the electric body. I call it a time plant. It's what it taught me. It was my first herbal ally, and it told me that it would help me reset cosmic time as long as I bent down and pet it whenever I saw it. And it was not like every single one I saw, but it was like the first one of the day, because I had to work that out with it, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm at a huge patch, I'm never going to get to work. But I see when that finally makes sense to me now on this model of the etheric body, the electrical body, because the image of Mullein as one of the most straight stalks that you find in nature, just like boom, straight up. And if you pull it down, it just goes, and if you bend it, it just goes, and it starts growing back up straight again. So yeah, it's definitely got this image of that Sushumna, that central column, that strong central column. And in tuning and in working with herbs in the electric body, the first thing I'm talking about is activating that central channel. When we're activating this central channel, we are calling awareness to the present moment. We're not off here being led by the possibilities of the future. Oh my gosh, what if? We're not being pushed into our present state by the regrets of the past. We are called into the present moment. And Mullein, and I'm not talking about like you have to drink Mullein tea in order to you have to smoke Mullein, you have to pet Mullein. No, I'm talking about Mullein as an archetype, as a form, as a signature, the signature of this plant calls to our awareness this present moment. And so I like to start, PK's in the house, right? If I had a Mullein dollars, if I had a Mullein dollars. Dude, I carry Mullein in my wallet. It's true. I do. It's my time plant. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so here's a cool thing about Mullein, and that one of the reasons why it appears to me as the time plant is because it's got that Fibonacci spiral in the leaf, right? The Fibonacci spiral is this like counter rotational spiral. It's like one spiral going this way and one spiral going this way. And that is our central axis too. Our central axis has a counter-rotational spirals of the positive charge that we pull in from Father Sky, and which is centrifugal towards the center, and the negative charge that we pull in from Mother Earth, which is centripetal, and breaks it. Centripetal means out from the center. So, what are the conventional uses for mullein? Lung stuff. Oh, there's a wildfire. Everybody get on Instagram and talk about mullein. Okay. Everybody knows that. But I like to think about lung stuff as the rhythm section. I got a drum set right over there I'm looking at. It's the rhythm section. It's bringing awareness back into the center. And it is how, Slick Dissident is in the house. It is through our breath, this is how we find our center again. So, oh my gosh, I'm going out into the future. I'm being led in my experience by the past and the regrets of the past. No. Find that central axis. Use that standing pillar that Mullein shows us with its Fibonacci counter-rotational spirals, its lung medicine, to remind us to bring it back into center. Another, maybe not so conventional, but really effective virtue of the mullein plant is it's alignment. It's really helpful for alignment, and specifically spinal and rib alignment. Ever get ribs knocked out of place from coughing too much? You could tape a mullein leaf to it and it puts it back in place magically. A lot of herbalists that work with mullein or the root of mullein will call it chiropractor in a bottle, because it puts your alignment back in place. I also use it for what's been called Bell's palsy. I wouldn't call it Bell's palsy. That's doctor speak. That's their proprietary language. I would call it, and I'm not a doctor, so I call it displacement of the current in the mandibular or the maxillofacial nerves. That's what I would call it. A displacement of current, a lack of a depression of occurrence of tension and depression or coldness, and it is very, very, very effective for that. So here we have again something that's bringing current back into the face. Here's something that's really interesting about mullein. It's like one of the plants that if you know where mullein is, and I'm in Wisconsin, you can look under the snow and there will be mullein. It's got its nice little jacket on. So when in Biofield tuning and working with herbs, you know that you get the right, you really know that you're in the pocket if somebody feels like lighter. They're like, oh, I feel lighter. Well, we're bringing light back into the body. But one of the things that I love about that is this idea of taking off a coat. But the funny thing about mullein is that it's so, not only is it fluffy and warm, but it's light and voluminous, and it's really hard to tincture because it's so light. A pound of mullein is this much. It's ridiculous. So yeah, helps with the lungs, blah, blah, blah. And there's another thing too about the lungs is the lungs bringing oxygen allegedly to the cells. I just want to point this out here. Let me see here. This is presenting. This is a paper that was just published by Gerald Pollack. You probably know him as the author of The Fourth Phase of Water. And a really awesome research paper. It says, is it oxygen or electrons that our respiratory system delivers? I'm not going to get into the details here, but basically it's a really great question. The question is, wait, if it's oxygen that's getting into it, that our blood is actually carrying, how does oxygen get into the blood? Because it has to go through this liquid membrane that's surrounded by the alveoli, and the only thing that goes through that is going to be electrical energy. And so maybe the oxygen is actually just the vehicle, because it is a, what does he call it? and it had basically the idea is that oxygen is unique in that it can carry a whole bunch of extra electrons, quote unquote electrons, which is like, it's also kind of a weird word if you're not into the atomistic model or whatever. But okay, so yeah, maybe we're not even carrying oxygen, we're actually carrying electricity, and I think it's really interesting. Okay, so question here. What is an herbal ally you mentioned earlier? My first herbal ally was Mullein. And when I first started studying, and this is a really good exercise for anybody who wants to start studying herbalism, if you're new, look for an herbal ally. It could take you like several months, but just make the intention, like, I'm gonna find a plant that is matched to me in my journey, and it's gonna teach me. In all the types of ways that I've never even recognized. It's going to provide me with synchronicities, and I'm going to find it when I need it. And it's going to be really, really helpful for all kinds of, love that one. All kinds of, everything that aches and hurts, or that hurts in my family. So for me, it was Mullein. That was my first herbal ally. It was the first plant that came to me, and I was like, are you my herbal ally? And I had to sit next to it for a little while to find out. And when I did, it told me. It was like really weird, but it's like, I'm your time plant. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go read all of my herbal books that I have and try to figure out what that means. And I felt like it was a very original and unique thing, but that's what it is. It's reset me to cosmic time. And that's what working in the Biofield tuning and in this diagnostic model, the first thing that we do is put people right into the center so that they are present in time, and they are not in the future too far, and they're not in the past, and they're not off in the field. They're right here, right where we want to be with each breath. The second thing that I think about, it's like activate the central channel. You breathe, covered that already with Mullein too, and center, and ground it out. You got to ground it out, man. So when it comes to stagnant flow, we're holding on to too much charge from emotions, maybe, or charge from non-native electromagnetic frequencies, or whatever. You got to ground it out. You got to put, one of the things that I think about with grounding is like, obviously putting your feet on the ground. And one of the plants that loves being stepped on more than any plant is planta, which is the bottom of your feet is the planta. And this is a plant in my Pisces graph, Plantain. It loves being stepped on. Okay. We have those counter-rotational flows, both, all throughout our body. All of our chakras are also moving this way and that way. And so when it comes to standing on the ground, there's one way that it goes. You can actually just stand on the ground, and the ground just whoop, as a matter of physics, electrons will flow from the area of the most density to the least. Is that right? No, from the most negative to the most positive. I don't know. I'm getting the syntax of that. It's something like that. But anyway, just standing on the ground will let it flow. But you can also return your baggage to the ground. And this is something, if anybody practices martial arts, Qigong, Tai Chi in particular, anything like that, or meditation, you can find your footing on the ground and bring your breath. Just, bring a deep breath in, and with your breath out, you intend it to go down into the roots. And with gratitude and appreciation, which is like a gratitude is more of like a passive, appreciation is like I'm going to send it there. You send it into the earth, and the earth loves it. Our mother loves our footprints. It has the claim to our footprints. Our mother earth does. Oh, baby. And when it does, she starts to sing with this etheric medicine called plantain. All plants, really. Oh man, but plantain. It is the plant of I call it the path healer. And the path healer plant is uh, the the path that we've tread on. Oh my gosh, there's a place in the Biofield. It's in the left foot, which is like I can't reconcile the path that I've been on. I don't even feel like moving forward because I have so much regret of the path that I've been on, or I'm kind of chained and conditioned to this path, and it's hard for me to move forward. And look at this plantain right here, y'all. Okay, I know that like the good herbs are the ones that are like organic and watered every day or whatever, and we want to have all the certifications and make sure that like they were sang to. But here's one that got like spit on, pissed on, cigarette butts, and it ain't even got any soil. It's like thriving. There's not even a bug on it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the type of medicine that I want, as well as the organic stuff. Yes, I want that stuff too. Okay, but I want this type of plant that is also the signal of this plant, which is you can heal the path that you're on. There's you can grow in the cracks. You can find nourishment where you're planted through the concrete and break it up and say, who the hell put this concrete here? I'm going to return it to the soil. That's what my job is. I'll just bust it apart slowly by slowly, footstep by footstep, and return it back to it. No need to thank me, by the way, either. Also, plantain is yes, its ability to like draw up minerals and nutrition in little or no soil. Also, it speaks to it as like a master drawing plant for the body, drawing up that charge and receiving that counter rotational, what we might think of as like our litter chi. Here, where can I dump this? The Mother Earth says, I'll take it. So, yeah, and it's also it's a snake plant. It's a serpent plant. Has with that same drawing ability, it will draw venom out. And you could think about venom in all the ways that you could think about venom too. I'm not just talking about like physical snake bites and physical venom. I'm also talking about that which depletes our charge, that which got into our sacred garden and has taken away our charge. The other thing too about plantain and this, like what I'm visualizing right now is like the bottom of the feet, which is lower than the root chakra, which is like the root chakra being like the perineum, like that little space between your the space between the space between, and that's kind of like perineum. How do you say it? And anyway, that's like the root chakra. That's like earth, and this is like below that. And so in the cosmology of like the world tree, there's like the serpents that are below the plane, the earth itself. And so that's another thing for me that I think about too. Okay, enough about plantain. Oh, no, not enough about plantain. I just want to say one more thing. Plantain is, in its like conventional things that people conventionally use it for, it's like a really great healer. It's one of the best vulneraries, all-purpose healers. Boo-boo, mosquito bites, fall down, scrape your knee, whatever. And in those instances, we are calling upon our cells. This is something from the work of Dr. Jerry Tennant, who talks about when a cell is injured, it needs to have a certain voltage. I believe it's negative 0.5 millivolts in order for it to reproduce. And so a plant that is capable of helping us reproduce our owies and boo-boos and all kinds of breaks, and including the leaky pathways that we have on the inside of our body, our intestinal walls, really speaks to the possibility of this containing that type of potential in charge. Okay, here's yarrow. Yarrow named, this is, so I'm kind of, what I'm doing right now here is like I presented a central axis. I'm kind of going up the body. I started at the bottom of the feet, and now I'm going up to the ankles in my homunculus of of energy example here. And the yarrow is the ankles. So ankles correspond to Aquarius. If in my herbs of the week, 52 herbs all around the year chart, yarrow is boom today. That's right, because yarrow is yarrow is like my birthday herb too. I really really love this plant, and I feel like it is it is probably the best my best friend plant, at least. One of the things that I put here, thinking about the ankles, is the plant's botanical name is Achillea, named after this one that is being held by this is Chiron and Achilles here on this clay pot. This is a really interesting clay pot too. Excuse me. Because look at this picture of Chiron, who is a centaur. And so you could even just like see that you could see that his like cloth goes all the way down. It's almost like they plugged in a horse to his butt, like it's not even him or whatever. And then over his shoulder is like a leopard fur. And it's almost, I guess this is very shamanic. This is very shamanic. It's him in his angelic or spiritual, exalted human state, talking human state to Achilles, the warrior. And it's almost like they put their animal skins and their animal hides behind them for a second. They've integrated them. It's really interesting. So anyway, Achilles goes down from the ankle and is fixed to the ankle ever since. And Aquarius rules the ankles. It rules the calves as well. And so yarrow has a strong, being named, having this egregoric tie to the myth of Achilles, will always have an egregoric tie to the ankles, which are angles, the angles that make us men and not animals. We stand up straight as living beings of the exalted five-pointed stars that we are, because of our ankles, and we're not down on the ground like the back of this Chiron here. Okay, yarrow in the feet as a flower essence, really super powerful. We made a really awesome flower essence last summer in a group setting. It was so magical. Like I can't even. It was so magical. And at the end of the lesson, so we found the yarrow that we wanted to put. It was at a trailhead, or it was at like a crossroads of trails. And I have this crystal cup. It's like crystal. I put some water in it, put the yarrow flowers in it, and then spent like 45 minutes talking about yarrow so that it would like infuse in the sun. And in the time that it took to finish, and it was like, okay, it's all done, there was a post in the ground that was the trail marker, and the shadow had crept across, and where it intersected right there was where the crystal glass was, right as we decided that we were done. And I didn't even notice until I was like, whoa. And the glass, because it was crystal, it was like holding this light, and everything else was a shadow around it. It was awesome. And so that is the flower essence that we have that is so helpful for cleansing the energetic body or the energetic field from electromagnetic static. So yarrow is a great plant for clearing the body, clearing the field. It's used in magic for clearing the, magical stuff. It's used in the physical body because it has a really strong relationship with the blood. You could see the signatures of the capillaries right there, and also with the liver, and with healing wounds, and also the wounded healer. So yarrow as an energetic cleanser. We have the other thing too is I make a yarrow hydrosol, which is you take hydrosol flower, so you take the yarrow flower, put it in a copper still. It's really basic alchemy. put some heat on it, distill it, condense it, condense it back into its state. And it takes out this essential oil that is azure. It's called azurline. It's sky blue. Oh my gosh, there's nowhere in this plant that you could see that. You have to do the process in order to see this sky blue. And it also, the hydrosol is very, very, very effective at clearing the electromagnetic field. If you ever feel like, oh, I've been sitting in front of the computer all this time, and zzz, all these lights and all of this hospital monitor beeping or whatever, I always bring, luckily I don't have to go to the hospital that often, but if I ever do, if I ever have to visit somebody, I'll always bring them Yarrow hydrosol, because it is, not only is it clearing to all the nonsense that is going on there, it's also very protective of the field. All right, Cleavers, moving up the shins here, and I'm not going to get all the way up to the top because I'm just not going to have time, and didn't make enough slides anyway, but that's kind of, you can see my progress here and where I'm going and how this relates to the energetic field. And in our body, in our body we have, we're like what, 60, 70, 75% water. And if you, Dr. Tom Cowan has this funny thing. He's like, I was an emergency room doctor for 30 years or whatever. And whenever people came in with like a gunshot wound or like a bayonet stabbing or something like that, they were never like dripping water all over the floor. How come? If we're 70% water? And of course it's like, because this water becomes a blood and blood plasma, and then it has various conditions that it's not gas, and it's certainly not solid like ice, but it is the fourth phase of water, which is described by Dr. Gerald Pollack as a gel. So water is very unique because, something like this copper here will be sublimated into gas, or I can melt it into liquid, or it's like, solid, but it doesn't have that fourth gel phase. And water does. And we have that in our body. When water is mixed with protein and an energy source, it turns into this jello, basically, just like jello. 97% water, a little bit of protein, add some heat, boom. It's not ice cubes. It's not, all over the place. Depends on how much, if you're a youngster in college, maybe you put too much vodka in there and it's still a little too watery, but still, you get the point. And so Cleavers is a great aid for the structuring of the water in our body. You could tell this because you could take Cleavers, which is always climbing. It's climbing to the top, and the Cleavers too is another one. I put it in the calf because if you notice, it's got the whorl. It's got the star around the central. This is very much very symbolic of the star card, and at least the Rider-Waite star card to me. And this tiny little stars. It's almost like the plant is saying, like, I'm almost all leaf and stem. Leaf and stem relate to the water element. And it's like, I don't really care so much about the air element, this little tiny flower. But when that flower blooms and turns into a seed, they're like two little fuzzy balls, which is definitely a signature of the testicles. And they have caffeine too. You have to get a lot of it to get a decent cup, from what I understand. But anyway, they climb up, they have this structure, they have this silica, and when internalized in the body, it helps with that the silica helps with that piezoelectrical signal that our bones have, moving up in the zodiac from Aquarius to the Capricorn, the ruler of the bones. And also, it is really, really effective at breaking through lipomas and all kinds of soft tissue stagnations. So it's really good at taking like highly structured water or stuff that our body has protected and bringing it back into a flow again. The stems are reminiscent of long legs, and so this is a deer medicine as well, according to Matthew Wood and his shamanic herbal. And I happen to agree because we have some woods, and the deer are always laying down in the Cleavers. Deer medicine is about the nervous system. And so one time I did a mystery tea, which is people come to my shop or take a class, make a cup of tea, make a big thing of tea. Don't tell anybody what it is. Just ask people to tune in what it is. What are they feeling? What are they sensing? And we did this with Cleavers once, and everybody talked about this electrical feeling of like moving through their shins and the relaxation and uplifted, like an air current. And, really, really corresponding a lot with that Aquarius archetype. And, Aquarius is the most electrical sign. This is the reason why I'm doing this class right here on this day in this sign. Not just because it's my birthday and I like sharing and hanging out with my friends, but also because it's the most appropriate. Let's look at the chat here. Recipes from elders are time travel instructions. That reminds me, I have on my dad's side, I have some Cherokee lineage, and my great grandmother was a Cherokee, and she had an herbal book, and she had an herbal, and it got passed down. And on my wedding, my dad gave it to me, and it's something I treasure and I value, and it's a recipe book. And is definitely as time travel, because inside of the book there are leaves that were stuck in there from 1910 or something like that. It's awesome. Oh yeah, great comment. So glad you're here. Okay, the Navajo historically considered it a life medicine and chewed the plant for toothaches and used its infusion for earaches. I think you're probably referring to the Yarrow. And yes, because Yarrow is a really great one for toothaches as well. Life medicine. And yes, Sticky Willie. Here's the thing too about Cleavers is really fun to do in an herb box. Is like get a bunch of Cleavers, and it's like Oprah, where I just like throw Cleavers at everyone. Like, you get a Cleavers, you get a Cleavers, you get a Cleavers, and it like sticks to them. And it's like, it's really funny. So that stiction is like dynamic electricity almost. It's the way that it's stuck to people, static electricity, I guess you could say. My Cherie's in the house. What's up? Okay, yeah, let's move on to oak. Okay. My friend Gabriel, who's in the chat, I don't know if he's still here. He likes to talk about, I might get this wrong, but he says, the lightning flash is incorrect. Maybe it's not the best way of describing it. It's like describing an effect of an effect, and it would be more appropriate to say Zeus flashes. And I happen to ponder that a lot when I ponder the oak trees that are here on my property that have such a strong signature to lightning. The dendritic movement of the way that oak bends, and it holds its arms out so far. I mean, there's no other trees that can. It's like massive, massive guns. It's like, dude, don't you want to put that elbow on the ground and get some rest? It's like, no. I'm sacred to Thor. I'm going to hold this up so everyone can see how strong I am. And then nothing strikes, no tree is struck by lightning more than the oak tree, except for the black locust, which also has some similarities. And so the people, we're scientists and we figured it out. It's because they're the tallest. That's the reason why. Not really buying it. There's also a lot of water in there, and I think it's because they're sympathetically resonant to the atmosphere by virtue of their shape. So the oak tree is definitely sacred to the Druids. That's the doer, as they call it in Celtic, which is where some people say the word druid comes from, if druid's actually even the right word. But doer, which is the door, which is where we get the word durable, because it was the oak tree that made the ships that people would come across on, and all the Phoenicians and everything like that. So it is a tree that also is capable of being a container. In Sardinia, The big oak tree trade over there is for cork. They take a particular type of oak tree, they take its jacket off in a time of year, and that's where you get your cork from. The cork is also a container. So the cork is a container. The oak tree itself makes containers. And then if you take a deer hide, you tan it on the oak tree. So it is all about this idea of pulling it together. Got to hold it together, man. Hold it together. Pull it together. From the tannic acid, from the energy that it has, the capability of crossing the sea. Okay. In Chinese medicine, the thing that holds it all together is spleen qi. Oh, your nose is dripping a little bit. My spleen qi is just all fucked up today. It's just, I gotta tighten it up. So the spleen qi is what holds it all together. And in a electrical sense, an electrical model, when we're talking about not having it together, we're talking about our energy, our electricity spreading out, or the diffuse membrane that we have not being able to contain. I got my drum set over there. I want to go over there tomorrow on my birthday and just go, and I don't want it to go plub, 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 plub. I want those suckers to be nice and tight. And when I think about that in my body and my tissues and the electrical resonance of my tum, 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 thundering timpani, tum, 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 and the flashing of Zeus in my body, I'm going to call on the image of the oak tree. In the body, I think about in the Biofield anatomy, the left knee has a lot of relationship to that spleen qi. Spleen qi, or oak in the old herbals and homeopathic literature. I don't know any herbalist using it now, treating people for addiction. So, oak for addiction too, and that also has a relationship with the spleen and or the solar plexus. You know, covering up parts of our individual expression that we don't really want to feel, that our inner light, kind of dampening it. But in the left knee, in particular, moving up our Biofield here, it asks, what authority am I taking a knee to? This is the Capricorn authority, knees. What am I bending my knee to? Am I doing it in something that I'm in service to, that I authentically move with? Or am I just kind of like bending my knee to the job because it has the benefits and I really hate it, but I just love, what can I it's got the benefits, And so those types of emotions get stagnated in that area of the body, and we could call on the Zeus flashing in the image of the oak for some remedy in that. Oak in the Om. Let's see here. Nice. All right. Door, Thor, Thorkey. Love it. Chat is great today. Spoken willpower. Spooky dokey. Okie dokie, man. That's the consent to what it is that we're kneeling to. Let's look at this one. Here's another Capricorn energetic part of our electric body is in the Capricorn area is Shilajit. Okay. Maybe everybody's talking about Shilajit lately. It's that it's that weird black goo. All right, I'm gonna back up for a second because everything that we've ever experienced, all the information that the plants that we ate, we've brought into our biofield. The animals that we've ate brought that into our biofield. Okay, everything our ancestors experienced, it's encoded in a standing wave format in the body's electrical magnetic field. Everything that we've experienced, it is our personal Akashic record. Okay. So what we call memory, it's not, no surgeon's ever going to cut open a brain and find a file cabinet and go, oh, here's the phone number I was looking for. The memory, the memory is in the field. Everything that we call memory is in our field. So, and yeah, according to the Biofield, we have the specific types and experiences and whatever in particular ways. So this is where I'm thinking about Shilajit, because Shilajit is also like the word Shilajit reminds me of Sheol, which in the Hebrewic cosmology is like this, I don't know, this almost like prima ancestral well that is below the plane of the world, and it's maybe what the oil is, and it is also all of that. It's like it's all of the decayed, the essence and all of the memories. And Rudolf Steiner was talking about like all of the memories in our bone that are stored in our bones, and when we're buried, they slowly radiate into the world. And isn't that something to think about too? If you were like hermetically sealed in a coffin somewhere, and like all of those memories not coming out for another 10,000 years or something. Anyway, so yes, Shilajit comes from the tops of mountains, and this is a lot of them come from like the Himalayan mountains. You could find some in the Andes mountains, and there's some even in the United States. But it's like this primordial substance of bacteria, and it's humic acid, and humic acid is like this nondescript way of saying it's like all that stuff that was broken down, all the biological stuff that was broken down, and within humic acid there is certain components like fulvic acid, which fulvic acid also this is all, they all have negative charges. So one of the things that Shilajit is really popular for right now is the epidemic of calcified pineal glands. Oh man, everyone's pineal gland is all calcified, man. And in my recent interview with Matthew Wood and Chance over on the Interverse YouTube, Matthew Wood was talking about people were getting calcified pineal glands as a result of the cowpoke. And I don't know about that. And I kind of pushed back a little bit, because I think that there's a lot of reasons why somebody's pineal gland would be calcified. And on a biochemical perspective, like the fluoride that's in water really likes to sit in the pineal gland and the tissues of the thyroid. And when it's a halogen, and it'll bring in a diamagnetic elements like calcium in there. But my response to Matthew's, it's because of the cowpokes, is no. It's a vital response. A calcified pineal gland is a vital response of the body working properly. Body, you ate something that's crappy, your body says, I'm going to vitally respond. I'm extremely good at this. I'm just going to throw up. I'm just going to have diarrhea. That's nothing wrong with you. That's your body working perfectly. You have to thin your fluids in order to detoxify. Body says, I know how to do this. I'm going to have a fever. Well, imagine having access to so much information, so much light, all this digital signals, non-native EMFs. All of those are a form of light, okay? Light eats melatonin. There's a signature right there. Melatonin is created in the pineal gland. And the body says, whoa, pump the brakes. I'm just going to like cover my melatonin maker in a little bit of extra crystal packaging so that it doesn't hurt so much from all of this. Or my other thing that I've noticed in my work is people saw the truth. It wasn't about what they received necessarily. It was the I saw the truth, it came to me, and I didn't follow it. And so as a vital response, my body recognized that I wasn't ready for it. And so it's just taking care of itself. It's encapsulating it. It's perfectly designed. And so what does Shilajit do? It breaks it apart because it is a paramagnetic substance. Paramagnetic means it has a small amount of magnetism. And so it's going to be pulling out heavy metals, and it does that in a very, very gentle way. But I think that the best thing in the case that I was just talking about is forgiveness. Really, it is so powerful. It can switch things instantly if it's truly, truly intended. It's crazy. So at the peril of this point of the presentation where I'm like, take Shilajit for this thing, or here's herbs for this thing, I'm recognizing that that's on the table and that it's on offer. But really my intention here is to show that there's some deeper meanings that we can have, that we could take control of these lessons ourselves. Okay. Yes. Excellent point, Gabriel. Magnanimity. I always have a tough time with that word. It's an antioxidant. What are antioxidants? Okay, all toxic things are, according to Dr. Jerry Tennant, I really like his book, Healing is Voltage. I like his words. He says all toxins are electron stealers. So also calls them free radicals. And so he's, and this, again, we're talking about this like so-called electrons and so-called molecules and blah, blah, blah. It's a word that is kind of like working for what we have here right now. So I'm not going to really get into that too much, but it does assume an atomistic model, but it doesn't have to be in order to have this be a working term. So our cells need electrons to be able to do their work. And when they're stolen from EMFs or fear, not following the truth, and all the toxicity in our world, toxicity, all the levels that can be applied, they get damaged. The cells get damaged. And so having an antioxidant is something that is going in and replacing some of these stolen electrons and actually providing more. I think there's a thing called the ORAC index, ORAC, and that shows like the most antioxidant things that you could find. And one of the highest ones on there is chaga. Chaga is a mushroom that grows on the birch tree and other tree resins. So there's something about the synthesis in the trees and their resins, like frankincense and pine resin and stuff like that. It's something that's in the trees that is making these extremely, extremely powerful, electrically recharging antioxidants, you could say. I really don't like the word antioxidants because it's like, come on, man. Tell me what you stand for. I know that you're against all that oxidation, but what do you stand for, man? It's like, I stand for electricity. Like I'm gonna voltage the hell out of this place. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Antioxidants. Come on. It's like I don't have anything against oxidants. I'm just not. It just happens that the free radicals are they're too free. Nothing's free, right? Okay. So the word Shilajit comes from it means conqueror of mountains and destroyer of weakness. That's so badass. Conqueror of mountains and destroyer of weakness. Totally Capricorn, right? All right, let's move on. Is Shilajit better in resin or capsule? You know what? Dr. Andrew Kaufman, he's got a YouTube channel. He's got a whole presentation on that. And basically it's a matter of, I say, go there and watch it. It's really just a matter of how it's sourced, because the best stuff is in the highest part of the mountains. Obviously, you got to go to the top of the mountain to get the best shit, right? Um, and while you're up there, there's a berry that'll help you lose weight too. And and so with the market, being saturated with everybody wants this stuff now, they're finding the dank, or they're not getting the dank, they're getting the dregs. They're going down to Shield to get the Shilajit. um, all right, let's see here. I've heard that war is a winter reprieve for arts, but whoever said that never saw my snow angels. Peter Shell in the house. What's up? Perhaps the pineal is calcified right now. The moon. What is that? The moon to protect itself from current warring ways. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Look at this nettle. This is what I call awareness medicine. Nettle is, to me, really symbolic of the root of the body. It is, a lot of times when herbalists talk about it, it's like common uses of herbalism. It's like building blocks. It's all about, I think of it as like, if you get a bunch of Legos from the thrift store, and then you just like have this big bag of like random Legos and you put them onto a table, and then you're like, come here. And then like open up the door and some Lego master comes in and is like, it's like, he just like builds like some Dubai building or something like that. That's what nettle does in the body. It's like all of those random proteins that are laying around, and they're causing mucus, and they're just like, oh, I'm stepping on these freaking Legos all the time. And our body doesn't know what to do with all these excess proteins, or so they just kind of tuck them away into the intercellular fluid in between the cells, which is like the closet space between the cells. And so nettle comes around and it cleans that out. And when you have better space between the cells, you have better signaling between the cells. And so you can also see, these are not cilia. These are hypodermic syringes of so-called chemicals, but whenever they try to do a chemical analysis on it, they can never figure it out. It used to be thought that they were filled with formic acid, which is the stuff that's in ants, ant bites or whatever, or bee stings. And so, but then they found out, well, it's only like 2%, but we also don't know what the rest is. I have a hypothesis, and that is that nettles store telluric current. So not the etheric current that's like up there, but like the current that's in the ground. And it brings it up, and this energy is stored in these little hypodermic syringes on the nettle, and that when you touch it, it is the urtication, which is a very, very valuable remedy. It's not a prank. I'm not pranking you. I feel like qualifying this because it is such a great remedy for what I would call like conditions that are cold and tense and stagnant in the body. And you could think about a time of year that is the case is the springtime, which is when the nettles are like really, really super stingy. And that's like it's like a really earthy, the earth element kind of growing up with its electricity too. So in that time of year, chronic aches deep down in the knees, somebody comes in, and this happens a lot in the springtime. People come in with their achiness, and I'm always like, oh yeah, I got this salve, I got this magnesium oil, it's really helpful. You can think about this internally. We can see if we can match it up with your constitution. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, let me see if I can connect with this person to tell them to like go take a hike and sting yourself with nettles, because you won't even, because buddy, you're gonna thank me later. Get out of here and sting yourself with nettles. It really works great. And so what happens is when you get stung with the nettles, zip, ouch, right away, zing, awareness medicine. Oh, course correct, you're on the wrong path, and there's a little bit of a chemical, like you get like what looks like a little burning. There's like not burning, but like little blisters, and it hurts for like, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Not hurts, but it's just like, man. But then after that wears off, it doesn't take long. Then it feels like electricity moving through, And one of my favorite things to do is intentionally therapeutically sting myself with nettles. It's awesome. And I don't mean it in like a Opus Dei kind of way. Like, however, I do have a story where it was kind of like that. It was like some penance where I was trying to get rid of a black eye right before my wedding, and uh, I just needed to change my behavior before I got married. Let me put it that way. So I stung myself with nettle in order to get rid of the black eye, and it worked. And because it brings blood flow to the area through its storage of telluric current. Okay. Nice. Alrighty. I'm going to move on. I'm going to correspond this to the solar plexus. This is St. John's wort. Hypericum perforatum, hypericum, hyper, above, ecum, icons. Above all icons is St. John's wort. In the sky, St. John in the sky would say, I'm above all icons for now, but a greater shall come. And that would be this flipping between Orion, which we see in the sky right now prominently, and Ophiuchus. And so here's Hypericum, above all icons, that which we put above ourselves. And the lesson that I see here is the holes that are in the St. John's wort. So you see on this leaf here, there's like all these little holes. They're not actually holes. They're like little windows that are trapping volatile oils. But it looks like there's all these little holes, like there's all these little punctures. And so it reminds me of, because St. John's wort is like in its common, the way that it was used prior to 1990s was St. John's wort is an excellent remedy for healing nerve pain. And that it would be, I would describe that as like chronic nerve pain. And then, my dog is scratching at the door. It's going to annoy me. And then in the 1990s, it came around and started talking about St. John's wort as a so-called like herbal antidepressant. And it actually is effective in certain cases, especially if the blues are of a melancholy nature, which happens to relate to the solar plexus, as opposed to the heart, which is like grieving. So I think of it as like, and also in the melancholic time of year is like, we're going into the darkness, we're going into the fall. Melon, dark, melatonin, kali, liver, dark bile, black bile. So it's a great remedy for that, because it's a great remedy for the liver. But here's an example of a camera that is capable of taking photos to find biophotonic light that is leaking from organisms. So all organisms share their light. When we share our coherent light, we put the light in our field around us. It is stratified, it is structured, and people will know when we walk into a room, wow, your eyes are glowing. Wow, you're glowing. Especially pregnant women, they just have that structure of their light within them because they're holding this tiny, super saturated baby that is just so full of this biophotonic light, and it makes both of them shine. Okay, but when the organism is stressed out, it also leaks the light. It's a leaking as opposed to a sharing, radiating of the light, and so those biophotons leak out. So you can see in this example here, picture A, regular old, it looks like a cottonwood aspen, something like that, leaf. Okay, they just took a picture, no stress. There's B, they like chewed it up a little bit, maybe called it a bad name, like told it was gonna pick it up and then didn't, I was like, I'll pick you up from karate practice, and then it didn't or something. So it's a little stressed out. And then there's C, and that was like, they really like went to town, and they stressed this leaf out so much. And by C, you can see all of the light is leaking out from that. So when we leak out our light within ourselves, the good news is those biophotons stay in our biofield. They just got to be gathered up, recaptured, and brought back in to where they originally were. And that, to me, is the signature of that. It's the signature of our leaking field, leaking light, like little tiny pieces of stars all around our field. And finding our shining our inner light once again, as opposed to being powerless and having our light maybe squished, or suppressing our inner light, which we feel in the body is like maybe anger, but we're like, oh, I don't want to be angry because I relate to anger as being not good, so I'll push it down with addiction, with alcohol, with sugar, with Netflix, with whatever. And St. John's wort. And so that might be diagnosed on a Western model as depression. And I have a whole different view of it. And so St. John's wort would be effective as a herb for that. But more effectively, I think about it as like, do we want to take a plant that will do the work? Do I want to, I don't want to, I don't want to look at my anger. I don't want to look at my melancholy. I just want to take a plant that will do that, so that I can keep my victim shields up, so that my victim shields are nice and strong. And, and I mean, who's going to do that work, right? Like, that's the question. Is like St. John the Baptist going to do that work? St. John's wort going to do that work? Sure, fine by me if that's what somebody chooses, right? But the point that I'm trying to make here is that this plant is giving the signal of this plant is telling us that we could claim that for ourselves, to do that work by the grace of God, of course, but that's what it is. That's why that plant is that shape and that signal for us. It is a guide. It's like the Virgil. It's almost like a little psychopomp into that inner sanctum, and it's not actually doing anything other than showing us the ropes. And we can claim that and find that just by looking at this plant, just by interacting with it, just by imagining it. I don't have to take it. See what's on the chat here. The electrical term manifold sounds like three blind men's description of the elephant. I always love that example. Ready. Nice. Cool. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Moving on here. Couple left. Hawthorn. I covered this really in depth in the circulatory story class that's I mentioned at the beginning here. That's also on offer if you're interested in learning more about herbs, heart health, circulation, blood movement, cholesterol, blah, 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 all that stuff. Really in depth with a lot of vital models and plants and plenty of solutions. And so as it pertains to circulation, Hawthorn, really great. I talked briefly in that, or I talked in depth in that class about the zeta potential, which is the potential which is the, like all of our blood cells have a charge all around the membrane. All of our cells have a charge around the membrane, but the blood cells, the measurement is called the zeta potential. It's not just something that you measure in your blood. You can measure it in any colloidal suspension, but basically let me see if I can explain this right. It's the difference between the charge on the surface of the particle versus the electrolyte solution that it's suspended in. So you can find the zeta potential of pasta sauce so that when it's on the shelf, it's not like water tomato or whatever, or would it be tomato water? I don't know. You know what I mean? So that it's like pasta sauce. And the zeta potential in our blood, we want that electrical negative charge around the blood cell to be nice and strong so that when another red blood cell comes next to it, it goes whoosh, and it flies away like you're putting two magnets together. And that is what helps propel the blood through the body. This is why the heart isn't a pump. The blood is the pump. The blood is moving the body. The fourth phase of water, uh, creates the hydrophilic surface of our blood vessels is the protein that structures the water that comes through. And when that water comes through, it creates a negative, a space of negative charge next to this hydrophilic surface. And all of the positive charge goes in towards the center. Okay? So it makes sense. So having the negatively charged particles as a gel around the blood vessel creates the movement of the part of the positively charged plasma, blood, water in our body, and it just propels it through. Okay, what does Hawthorn have to do with it? Well, I actually think this is another it's not so much a hypothesis, because I have some research publications to back this up, but I don't know anybody else talking about it. But I think the pectin in Hawthorn is really closely related to the apple tree. You ever made jam before? You ever made strawberry jam or elderberry jam? If you made elderberry jam, you just take a bunch of elderberry juice and you cook it down, add your sugar, add your lemon, put it in a jar. What do you get? Elderberry juice. It doesn't turn into jam unless you add pectin. So I always use apple peels or apples when I'm making jam, because it makes that jam gel. It makes the jam jamify. It jams it. It makes it gel. And that's what we want in our body. We want that fourth phase. We want that gelatinous water. And I believe that the pectin on the surface of the hawthorns, which are like little super apples, are helping improve that zeta potential in our body. Over on the Biocharisma podcast channel, I've heard him mention that if you were going to get a blood test, that the zeta potential would probably be the best marker of vitality and health. And I would agree. Not into that type of stuff though. But look, you got spines on this. Spines also, Topher from the Biocharisma podcast taught me this, that spines on plants are bioresonators. They create more mass in the garden, where if you have like a spiny plant. And I also think of them as communicators. Not only are they boundary plants, and this is a plant of a heart, which is really, really like this is a great plant for the heart. All the things about the heart that you could think about. The pericardium, the circulatory system, the emotional heart, the boundary, I'm saying no and I mean it. The ability to exalt joy, the ability to empathize and feel and ground it out. All of that is in the hawthorn tree. It is the shape of a toroid. It is rooted. It has got it looks like a heart. It looks like the toroidal field of the heart with all of this juicy red blood building berries on offer, with the caveat that you can't come in too close because we got to make some space with our spines. But I also think of those spines as ether harvesters. They're like the spires of a church. They're communicating. They're not only protecting and making boundaries, but they are also communicating and feeling. And that's why, me with my long hair, I could feel like when I get my hair down, I could feel, or my hair up like that, I could feel when I'm getting too close to the ceiling or something like that. It's like an extension of my body. So imagine a porcupine. Whoa, no, porcupine, those things are spiny. I don't want to get too close. Well, the porcupine's also like, hey, I'm just full of nerves here. I just want to feel as well. So porcupines are incredibly adept to, that's like all extensions of their nervous system. So cactuses, I'm thinking of the porcupine conundrum of Schopenhauer. Is that right? Schopenhauer's porcupine dilemma, where all the porcupines, they're such not only are they like the creatures that want to create all this space, and that everybody that wants to get close to them, it gets poked in the eyes and poked in the butt, but they also on the other hand, like that's like an extension of their nervous system, and so that's how they feel in the world. So a harsh winter comes by, and the poor porcupines, they have to socially, have to socially distance. They have to stay 6 feet apart because they can't go hug each other because otherwise they get poked. Here's another thing about Hawthorn too, is from the Chinese perspective, is that the heart is where the shun is stored, and the shun is like our it's like our mind. Really, it's our mind. So where's the mind in the body? It's in the biofield. But what generates that biofield? What entrains all of the other electrical signals of our body? The heart. So in the Chinese model, the shun is the mind, and when the shun gets scattered, then it's like your mind is all over the place, and you have a really hard time focusing. And so I like working with Hawthorn for attention deficit disorder because it invites all of that shin back into the heart, nice and calm and comfortable again. And it's not, I don't see it anywhere as a nervous system remedy. A lot of times it's talked about as a digestive remedy or a circulatory heart remedy, but I find it to be incredibly powerful as a attention deficit disorder remedy, or bringing that scattered mind back into the place where the mind lives, which is the heart, electrical heart. Any more on that? Flax. Never worked with flax. Sorry, I've worked with flax seeds. I've never worked with the flax plant. I put it in here though because I wanted to consider. Before I get into this, I'll look at some of the chat here. Okay, Schopenhauer porcupine conundrum blows the mind after lockdowns. I think he was consulted in C.S. Lewis screw tape letters too. Yeah, it's Slick Dissident YouTube channel, y'all, and follow this guy's comment to his YouTube channel because it was him that taught me about Schopenhauer's porcupine conundrum. And also says, plants are choosy about their pollinators. I love that plants are choosy about their pollinators. Yeah, me too. I also, I have a theory that not a theory. I have a joke. I like to joke that plants invented pollinators and that burdock invented blue jeans. Because every time I go into an herb walk and there's a bunch of burdock around, I get it stuck all over my blue jeans. Okay, my sure he says. Oh yeah, nice. Yep, fairy folk. Yeah, Hawthorn, definitely a fairy tree. Hawthorn is the, which one is it's the positive. It's the masculine fairy tree. It's king fairy. Projective, red, outwards, all of that, Martian fairy tree stuff. And then, the hawthorn, like in Ireland and stuff like that, if there's a hawthorn that's in the middle of their farmer field, they don't cut it down. They don't mess with it. They always have respect for it because they all know that if they did, that the fairies would, I don't know, mess up their farm, create some sort of accident or whatever. So, it said that that on the summer solstice, that the king fairy rides out from, or is it rides back to? No, rides out from the hawthorn tree at sunset. So check that out. I think that if you had, if you were like, I'm going to try this with my son because he's turning 3 next week, and so my old conditioned self might be like, well, come on, it's been about 5 minutes, let's go in. But I think that he might be able to see it. So, and I'm gonna make sure I stay with him too because them fairies are always looking for kids to abduct, aren't they? Okay. Flax tax. I just want to put this out here. It's not like, again, not flax has we take this flax seed for charging up the body. I don't even know if flax seed is good for you. I really don't. I go back and forth on it. I've heard that maybe it turns rancid right away. You got to keep it cool. You just got to grind it yourself. I don't know. But I do know that flax is used to make linen. And linen as a natural fiber has the highest coherent charge next to wool. There's two of them that have the most coherent charges. So I've seen this graph before, and I wish I knew how that they did it. I've really looked into it. I don't know how they measured, maybe just a voltmeter or something like that. But like polyester, negative. Don't wear polyester because it takes away the energy. It's like those electron stealers. It takes away the energy from your biofield. It takes away your juice, your electrical juice. Okay. Next would be like rayon and all those blah blah blah. Then you have cotton, which I prefer, is something like 500 or whatever, and then linen vibrates at the highest. Let's just say 1,000. I think it was 1,000, whatever that is, 1,000 millivolts or something. Okay, but linen is described as the wave pattern moves from right to left, which would be centrifugal, away from the center. And that makes sense because wool also has that high vibration, but Book of Exodus, not supposed to do this, not supposed to do that. Oh, well, that's just Moses being a meanie. No, he's saying don't mix your fibers. You can't mix the fibers in the Ark of the Covenant because it's going to change the charge. It's going to take away the protective biofield layer that they're trying to, I don't know, whatever they're doing with their Ark of their Covenant. So you can't mix wool and linen. Why? Because wool has that same charge, but it has a centripetal movement. So think about it though, right? We wear wool in the winter. We want to have something hold us close to the core. That's the centripetal, like closer to the center. And then in the summertime, we're out there with all the Jesus clothes on, wearing linen, radiating our light out, radiating our armpits out, feeling good, with that vibration from center to outwards. And so when you put them together, they become interfering pattern or interfering waves, and they cancel each other out. So all that work for nothing, right? So just keep it one fiber or the other. I found in my own life, this is something I abide by, and I really do think it works. I really do feel supercharged and super good when I'm wearing all linen, or when I'm wearing all cotton or wearing all wool. But if I throw on something that's not that, I really do feel like, this is just a first-hand account, whatever. That's a strong thing in law. It's just my account. Anyway, I think this is it. We have one more thingy left I want to show you about the moringa. This is just really cool. That's I got this. I was like, moringa. I think I've seen this before, where moringa has something to do with electricity. So I just Googled moringa electricity, and I found tons of YouTube videos, tons of them, like this one. Okay. Maybe not the best one here.
Hi everyone.
Tons of them where basically they put a wire on one. It's like making a potato battery, but for whatever reason, it works really, really well with the moringa tree. Now, why does it work so well with the moringa tree? Like, there's people that they have there's this dude that had like an auto body shop, and he's running all of the lights, and he was even running the angle grinders on these, like, just put a wire up here and a wire down there in the roots, and it's just like a potato battery. It's just making an electrolyte solution. But why the moringa? Why is that one so special? I don't know. But So look at this leaf pattern. One of the things I learned a couple summers ago, this, I was I learned this from a walnut tree. The walnut tree really chastised me psychically when I was walking my dog one day, and it was kind of like growing out of this people's porch, and it was like right next to the concrete steps. And I was thinking to myself, man, if that was my house, I would just totally chop that down. And I can immediately feel the, like, what did you just say about me, mother? From the walnut tree. I was like, whoa, this tree just freaking talked to me. It was really wild. And so this was my route that I did every day with my dog. And so every day I kind of like walked by that tree as if I had like said, wow, look at that neighbor's fat butt, and he like heard me or something like that. So I had to like see this tree every day, just like if it was a neighbor. And I was like, oh, hi. And eventually like started getting a better relationship with it. And and then after about a year of like, complimenting the tree, thanking it, it eventually taught me psychically that the reason why things don't grow under it is because it takes because the leaf pattern is shaped in such a way that it structures it. It's like an array. A walnut leaf is like, it's like one big long stem. This like a walnut leaf is like, like this big, and it's got all these leaflets. And so it's like boom, 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 boom. And it's like an array. And it said that it takes the light and it structures the shadow underneath to make an only a coherent field for what it wants growing under it. And that was really interesting to me, because at the time I was like on this, like I couldn't figure out why things wouldn't grow under a walnut tree, because the common thing is, oh, it's got this jugulone, which is this compound, this like chemical. And I'm like I said, chemicals and all that stuff are boring to me. I'm so bored with chemicals. And it turned out though that like that wasn't true. That they did a whole bunch of tests with adding this one. They isolated this compound, this jugulone, and everything was growing just fine. So it wasn't the jugulone. Okay. So then they kept doing it, and they found, like the walnut tree produces a lot of shade, so maybe it was just the shade. But the walnut tree told me that it had something, that it actually structures the light. It structures the shade so that it is only coherent to the water underneath the walnut tree for the walnut tree. And that's what I think is going on here. That's my, other than you get an electrical potential from the higher up you go, and maybe in the places where moringa grows, it's the only tree. I also think that that's the other thing too, is that like maybe there's a lot of places where it's just the highest that you can go, even though it's only like a 15-foot tree, but you can get some voltage from going up higher. So maybe it's just a potato battery with as simple as that. Maybe there's something else to it. But if you ever consume moringa, it is definitely it's like nettle in a lot of ways. It really does have a lot of those building blocks for your body, and it really does make you feel charged up in that green photosynthesis kind of way. Wow, cool. Let's see. Anything else to address here? I am so happy. I'm so grateful that y'all came along in this class with me today. Like I said, that was just a little sample. Gosh, I would really like to talk about this more. Really like to map this out for the whole biofield. I would really like to. I play with this a lot in my clinic too. So one of the things that I've learned at the beginning of working clinically is you got to find the remedy that will solve the problem at its root. Well, what is that? That meant was you got to find the remedy of what was needed at the time that the root occurred. And so in this diagnostic process of moving through somebody's timeline, their memory, their mind, their biofield with a tuning fork, as if it were a file cabinet, an actual file cabinet, and say, here we go. Here's the spot. And then I introduce in at that place, that remedy, that specific remedy. I do it through charging It's kind of I have a proprietary way. Maybe I'll teach it someday. But anyway, I introduced this, and then with that plant, I can make a custom formula that will be that the person can take with them, and it will be I don't know, it'll contain the remedy for that particular time, and not as the plant is doing the work remedy, but the plant is opening up the file and showing it and helping you receive the information so that you can stand in your center, take a breath, find that charge, ground it out. And it's really cool. And anyway, it's 15% off right now too until the end of the day tomorrow because it's my birthday. So, because I'm a Super Bowl baby, that's right. Thanks y'all for hanging out with me. It's awesome. It's awesome to hang out with such. It's fun to be myself and talk about this weird stuff, man. This is the weirdest stuff in herbalism today, but it's fun and it's cool. And y'all are my tribe. I really appreciate you. So much love. I hope that you come to some other classes. Hope that I get a chance to talk to you more. Stay in touch with me. You know I like to talk about plants. I love talk about plants, and I would love to talk about plants with you. So when that day comes, I'll be there. Right on, y'all. Have a wonderful night. Cheers.